Will your ex realize their terrible mistake in breaking up with you? That's what we're going to be talking about in this video. But first, my name is Clay with ModernLove.life, where we help you get the great loving relationship that you're looking for without having to play mind games, without having to play hard to get, and without having to pretend to be someone or something that you are not. Because you, of course, deserve to be loved for the unique, amazing, and wonderful person that you are. And if you agree with me and you want to help a guy out with his YouTube channel, just hit that thumbs up button. Sends a message to the algorithm that this is a nice video, and the YouTube algorithm might then, if enough of you hit that button, start showing this video to more people, and it might help spread and all that stuff. I'm trying to figure it out, okay? I'm trying to figure out this whole YouTube thing. You know, I spent probably the first, 8 years or something on YouTube just making videos and uploading them and all that. And some of them do great, some of them not do so great, whatever. But then, you know, I started to notice all these other relationship coaches come on the scene, and it's like, they've only been at this for 2 years or something like that, but their channel's like twice the size of mine. And so that's when I really started to actually get serious about this channel, learn about like keyword research, the algorithm, all that stuff, hit the thumbs up button. And now I'm doing my best to catch up, but gotta do what I can. Anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent. We're gonna be talking today about, will your ex realize their mistake in breaking up with you? So, with all that being said, there's a lot of people out there that'll tell you things like, your ex will regret this. They'll realize they made a terrible mistake and all of that stuff. But the truth is that most of these things are really just platitudes meant to help people feel better that are going through a breakup. Okay. Will your ex regret making the decision to break up with you? Maybe, maybe not. It's a big thing that's up in the air. But what can definitely help them to realize they did make a mistake is first of all, if the two of you actually want the same things in life. If, like, for example, both of you want to settle down, get married, and start a family or something like that, and they left for one reason or another, then that's one component. If you somehow embody or represent something that they want or wanted to experience, there's definitely the capacity for them to regret that decision. That's not enough, though, obviously, because I think a lot of people have similar goals. They want to get married, they want to settle down, have a family, or maybe something else. But that's a very common goal that a lot of people have. And so you have to also respond to what happens between you and your ex in a mature sort of way. Obviously, if you go down the road of playing mind games and being petty and doing all that stuff, taking pictures of yourself with attractive strangers and posting them online to make your ex feel jealous or something like that, it's not really going to make them regret breaking up with you so much. Because honestly, they can look at it and say, like, wow, look at all this like weird petty stuff that you're doing. Look at these like weird mind games that you're playing. Look at these weird, strange behaviors that you're suddenly coming out now that we're broken up. And that can actually have the opposite effect. I know there's a lot of people out there that say, you gotta make your ex think that you're missing you. You gotta make them think that they're missing out, or that, somehow you're better off without them or something like that. And maybe it's true, and maybe you are. But if you're somehow using reverse psychology or mind games or something like that, your ex can probably see through it. They can. It's not going to put you in a positive light. What is going to put you in a positive light is if you just respond like an actual adult to what's happening, okay? And what does that actually mean? So, in some of our courses, like Effortless Connection, which is our communication course, we talk about taking on what we'd call like a curious stance, okay? So, for example, there are lots of things that people can do or say in a breakup. There's lots of things that could happen. And, in any course of normal human interaction, there are going to be things that someone says or does that you're not going to totally understand why they said it or did it. What oftentimes people do is, maybe they don't understand why their ex didn't text them back. Maybe they don't understand why they made that cryptic comment. Maybe they don't understand why they said or did something else. And what a lot of people do is they get this unknown thing and they start asking themselves questions about it. Why did this happen? Why did they say that? Why did they do this? And then that's when their fears, insecurities, and doubts start to creep in, and say, oh, they did this because they never cared about you. They're doing that because they're moving on. They're doing this because they don't love you anymore, or whatever the case might be. And that's not to say that's not true, but when we start to jump to this conclusion, we're actually allowing our fears, our insecurities, and our doubts to drive our decisions and drive our opinions about our relationships. And that's generally not a good place to be in. So what you want to do is, instead of rushing to fill in that blank, rushing to make meaning out of that unknown thing in front of you, what you want to do is just get curious about it. Just take on this curious stance and just get in the habit of getting curious about it, saying like, okay, I don't know why they said that. And what typically comes up when someone is genuinely curious about something is, I don't know why they said it. Maybe I should just ask them, hey, when you said this one thing to me, what did you mean by that? I wasn't sure how to take that. Can you help me understand? Or something along those lines. And that's an example of how an adult might behave in that sort of situation. Another way is to, do your best to kind of make it clear what you want to communicate or what you want to convey. If they seem closed off to it, if they seem like they're not open to it, you can kind of reluctantly go along with them. One-way spikes of doom strategy. These are all sort of different ways that you can start to interact with someone as an adult. And what this does is, if your ex is, stubborn about things, if they're, acting immature in their own sort of way, if they're acting, reactive in their own sort of way, eventually they may have a moment of clarity where they actually stop and say, you know what? I was being a little bit too harsh there, or I was being a little bit impulsive there, or I was being a little bit whatever there. And they're going to be able to look back at how you were behaving in that moment. They're going to say, you know what? They were actually doing their best to actually behave in a reasonable, adult, rational sort of way. That's when they can actually start to say, hey, I get it. You also embody these things that I want. You also have these similar values or similar goals. Maybe you want to get married, maybe you want to start a family, maybe you want to, do something else. I had a client once who went on to, get married to her ex, and they went to do a bunch of charity work in Africa. Really cool stuff. But if you do this sort of stuff, then yeah, that you're stacking the deck for them to actually regret their decision to break up with you. Because oftentimes, in order to break up with you, people have to create a version of you that's worth breaking up with. Okay? And for a lot of people, that's going to involve sort of deleting, distorting, and generalizing, and sort of twisting the truth about what happened between the two of you. Some situations, maybe they didn't have to delete, distort, and generalize too much. Other times, maybe they had to do it a lot. But they have to create a version of you that's worth breaking up with. And if you can show up not as this caricature of you that's like twirling your mustache and saying things like, I planned on cheating with you the whole time, I'm this terrible person or something, but instead you're just like, okay, yeah, like if that's really what you want to do, we can do that. I'd really like to stay in contact with you, but if that's really what you want to do, sure, we can do that. Then that's kind of behaving as an adult. And that's going to cause them, once they are able to kind of break that state a little bit, to actually look back and say, okay, maybe I was wrong. Maybe that wasn't exactly how things were between the two of us. And so that's what I mean by that. And, all this communication stuff, by the way, once again, is what we talk about in Effortless Connection. If you want to check it out, there's a link to it below. If not, then, don't worry about it. I'm not going to twist your arm to sign up. You want to behave like an adult. Additionally, there's also some more, surface, shallow kind of things that may cause them to regret breaking up with you. But that's like, okay, if somehow you like brought them into some sort of world that was different from their own world, because of your lifestyle, because of something that you're doing, because of people that because of, some sort of like scene that you're a part of, like an art scene or something like that, and they miss that, then yeah, they might also regret that as well too. But really, we don't want to necessarily rely on superficial stuff like, oh, you're rich and they miss having nice things, or oh, you used to be this like connected influencer and they miss like being around people that are known in some capacity or something like that. What we probably want to focus on is more just like, did you embody something that they want, and can you interact with them as an adult? And typically that's what's going to stack things up for them to most likely regret their choice, regret the mistake that they made. But I mean, like, don't buy into all of this stuff that says they always regret things in the end. Like, there are people that I don't regret not being in a relationship with. Let's put it that way. And that's because we had fundamentally different values. We wanted different things in life, and we weren't really compatible, or maybe they behaved in a not so mature way. And so those are the two main things. Okay, those are the two main things. So if that's something that you want help with, again, we do have communication strategies inside of Effortless Connection. That's below. But if you did like this video, hit that thumbs up button. Again, for the algorithm, help me catch up with Brad and help me catch up with all those other guys on YouTube. We can do this, okay? But I gotta get you to hit that thumbs up button, leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel. All that good stuff. It sends a message to YouTube, and it helps YouTube give me a bit of a bump. But thanks so much. Please take care. If you do want a little bit more about your ex's sort of psychology during this whole process of getting back together, please check out this video series over here on your ex's 5 stages, or you might want to check out this video right over here. But anyway, please take care, and I will talk to you next time.